My sister wrecked hard-earned car as a joke, so I took her to court. A 27-year-old guy, and a few months ago, I achieved something I'd been working toward for years. I bought my dream car. It wasn't some super expensive sports car or anything, but it was brand new and it was mine. I'd been saving every spare penny while juggling 2 jobs and skipping vacations just to make it happen. The moment I drove it off the lot, it felt like all that hard work had finally paid off. Now my sister Erica, who's 24, has always been a wild card. She's one of those people everyone in the family excuses with phrases like "that's just Erica." She's the girl who turns up late, borrows things without asking, and thinks every situation is an opportunity to pull a prank. I always kept my distance from her because I knew she didn't take much seriously, but I never thought she'd cross the line as badly as she did. This all started during a family reunion at my parents' place. They host a big gathering every summer, and this year was no exception. Everyone showed up, including Erica. I decided to bring my new car along to show it to my family. I parked it in the driveway, making sure it was out of the way, but still close enough that I could keep an eye on it. As soon as Erica saw the car, she made a beeline for it. She walked around it whistling and cracking jokes about how I must have finally hit the jackpot. I could already see where this was going when she said, "Let me take it for a spin. I'll bring it back in one piece." I laughed it off and told her no, firmly but politely. I explained how much the car meant to me and that I didn't let anyone drive it, not even my closest friends. She rolled her eyes and shrugged, but the look she gave me screamed. Challenge accepted. Over the next couple of hours, Erica kept bringing it up. She joked about how I was too protective and being no fun. At one point, some of the older relatives joined in saying I should lighten up and let Erica drive it. I stood my ground though, repeating that the car was off limits. I wasn't going to budge on this no matter how much teasing I got. Later that evening, we all sat down for dinner. The conversation was lively and I let my guard down for a bit. My keys were in my jacket pocket, which I'd left hanging by the door. I didn't think much of it until Erica disappeared for a while. When dessert was being served, I noticed the faint sound of an engine revving outside. My stomach dropped. I jumped up and ran to the window just in time to see my car peeling out of the driveway with Erica behind the wheel. I bolted outside yelling after her, but she was already gone. My father tried to calm me down, saying Erica was just having a bit of fun and would be back soon. I couldn't believe how casually everyone was taking it. I was fuming, but there wasn't much I could do except wait. About an hour later, Erica came back. I heard her before I saw her, a loud scraping sound followed by laughter. When she pulled into the driveway, my heart sank. The front of my car was smashed. The bumper was hanging off. One of the headlights was shattered, and there were deep scratches down the side. Erica stepped out, grinning like she'd just pulled off the best prank ever. She tossed the keys at me and said, "Relax, dude. It's just a car. You've got insurance. Right?" I couldn't even respond at first. I just stared at the damage, trying to process what had happened. When I finally managed to ask what the hell she was thinking, she shrugged and said she was just messing around. The family's reaction was split. Some of them were horrified and agreed that Erica had gone way too far. Others, including my parents, downplayed the whole thing. They kept saying it was an accident and that I should let it go. Erica, meanwhile, acted like it was no big deal. The next morning, I got a repair estimate and it wasn't pretty. The damage was going to cost $1,000 to fix. When I confronted Erica and told her she needed to pay for it, she laughed and said, "That's what insurance is for." That's when I realized she wasn't going to take responsibility. I gave her one last chance to make things right, but she brushed me off, saying I was making a mountain out of a molehill. Things got even worse when she started mocking me on social media, posting pictures of my car with captions like "Oops, my bad" and laughing emojis. It was the final straw. I talked to a few friends and posted about the situation online, and the advice was unanimous. I needed to take legal action. At first, I hesitated. I knew suing Erica would create a massive rift in the family, but she left me no choice. So I contacted a lawyer and started the process. Erica thought I was bluffing, but she's about to find out just how serious I am. Update 1. After deciding to sue Erica, I wasted no time. The first thing I did was contact a lawyer and explain everything that happened. We started the process of filing the lawsuit, gathering all the necessary documents. The repair estimate alone was staggering, over $8,000 in damages. On top of that, I had to deal with legal fees and the hassle of missing work to deal with all of this. It didn't take long for news of the lawsuit to spread through the family. My parents stood by me, saying Erica needed to learn a lesson, but my parents? That was another story entirely. They accused me of being heartless, claiming I was tearing the family apart over a car. They even called me selfish, saying I should let it go since I had insurance, which by the way wasn't covering the damage because Erica took the car without my permission. Erica, of course, played it off like it was all a big joke. She told everyone the lawsuit was just a bluff, saying there was no way I'd actually go through with it. To make things worse, she posted a sarcastic video on her social media mocking the situation. She filmed herself walking up to a toy car, pretending to crash it into a wall and laughing hysterically. The caption? Oops, guess I'm getting sued now. LOL. Some of our mutual friends thought it was funny, but others messaged me saying Erica was out of line. Still, the whole thing left me even more determined to see this through. Meanwhile, the mechanic's final repair estimate came in and it was worse than I thought. The crash had done significant damage to the suspension and frame, making the car unsafe to drive until it was fixed. The total? Over $12,000. That wasn't just a scratch or a dent. That was a serious financial hit. Balancing all of this with my job wasn't easy. I was burning through my savings and working overtime just to keep up with the legal fees. At one point, Erica's lawyer reached out with an offer. Erica was willing to pay $1,000 to settle the case if I agreed to drop the lawsuit. I didn't even have to think about it. I rejected it immediately. That amount wouldn't even cover a fraction of the repairs, let alone the other expenses. The family drama escalated when some extended relatives decided to step in immediate. They organized a meeting at my parents' house and everyone involved was invited. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I went anyway, hoping for a resolution. Erica showed up late, as usual, and acted like the whole thing was a joke. While people were trying to have a serious discussion, she kept making snide remarks and cracking jokes. At one point, she even said, "It's not like I killed anyone." The lack of remorse was infuriating and it became clear that this meeting wasn't going anywhere. After that, I focused on gathering as much evidence as possible for the case. One big break came when I remembered the parking lot where Erica had crashed my car had surveillance cameras. I contacted the property owner and managed to get the footage. The video showed Erica speeding into the lot, attempting to drift and losing control before slamming into the lamppost. It was all there clear as day. I also decided to share my story online not for sympathy but for advice. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of people commented offering legal tips and words of encouragement. Some even shared similar stories about dealing with entitled family members. It was a reminder that I wasn't alone in this. A week later, Erica received the official court documents. That's when it finally hit her that I wasn't bluffing. Her attitude shifted, at least for a moment. She called me asking if we could work something out. But when I told her the only solution was for her to pay for the damages in full, she hung up on me. The family tensions were taking their toll. Some relatives stopped talking to me altogether, while others tried to stay neutral, saying they didn't want to pick sides. My parents doubled down, calling me every name in the book. It felt isolating at times, but my close friends were a huge source of support. They reminded me why I was doing this, to hold Erica accountable for her actions. One unexpected twist came when my younger sister reached out to me privately. She apologized for everything and said she'd seen this kind of behavior from Erica whole life. She even offered to testify on my behalf, saying she was tired of her getting away with everything. When Erica found out about this, she blew up, accusing her of betrayal. Her reaction only made things worse, showing just how immature she really was. As the court date approached, my lawyer and I finalized our case. We had the repair estimates, the surveillance footage, screenshots of Erica's social media posts, and now a willing witness. Everything was ready. The countdown to court had begun, and while I was nervous, I was also determined. Erica had spent her whole life avoiding consequences, but this time he wasn't going to get away with it. Update 2. With the court date getting closer, things started moving fast. My lawyer dove into building the case, going over every detail to make sure we were prepared. The repair estimates, surveillance footage, and Erica's own social media posts where she joked about the incident were all organized into a solid file. The video from the parking lot was the centerpiece. It showed Erica's reckless driving and the exact moment she crashed. It was undeniable proof. My younger sister, who had offered to testify, came through with a detailed statement. She didn't hold back, explaining Erica's long history of careless behavior and how the family had always brushed it off. Her account painted a clear picture of someone who had never been held accountable for her actions. Meanwhile, Erica finally hired a lawyer. At first, they tried the same tactic Erica had used, offering a lowball settlement. This time, it was slightly higher at $2,500, but it was still laughable compared to the $12,000 in damages. My lawyer didn't even hesitate before rejecting it. As this was happening, my parents ramped up their efforts to rally the family against me. They called just about everyone, saying I was being petty and tearing the family apart over a few scratches on a car. They painted Erica as the victim, claiming I was blowing everything out of proportion. Some relatives bought into it and started pressuring me to drop the case, but others stayed neutral or quietly supported me. Then the anonymous messages started. I began receiving texts and emails from unknown numbers calling me greedy, accusing me of ruining family relationships, and even suggesting I just let it go for the sake of peace. The timing and language made it obvious these were connected to Erica or my parents. Amid all this chaos, a distant relative reached out to me unexpectedly. She told me about a time Erica had damaged her property years ago and how my parents had refused to take responsibility. It wasn't a car, but the story was eerily similar. She encouraged me to keep pushing forward, saying Erica needed to face the consequences this time. Work became another area of stress. Between meetings with my lawyer and the constant family drama, my focus started slipping. My boss noticed and pulled me aside to ask if everything was okay. I explained the situation briefly, and to my surprise, he was understanding. He reminded me to take care of myself and assured me my work was still solid despite everything. Just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated, the insurance company denied my claim. Because Erica took the car without my permission, they refused to cover the damages. That left me fully responsible for paying the repair costs up front, adding even more financial strain. Erica, however, wasn't feeling the pressure, or at least she didn't act like it. At a family birthday party, she decided to make a spectacle. In front of everyone, she called me a sellout, accusing me of caring more about money than family. A few people laughed awkwardly, but most just looked uncomfortable. I didn't respond. I wasn't there to argue, and honestly her behavior just reinforced why I was doing this in the first place. The online side of things was also gaining traction. My story had started to spread, and a few local news outlets even reached out asking if I'd be willing to do an interview. I declined. This wasn't about publicity. It was about making Erica take responsibility. Before the trial, there was one last meeting between the lawyers to try and settle the case. Erica and my parents were there, and it was clear they still didn't take this seriously. Erica sat back in her chair smirking while her lawyer made another weak offer. When my lawyer laid out the evidence, including the surveillance footage, Erica's attitude didn't change. She refused to apologize and showed no interest in making things right. The meeting ended with no agreement. On top of everything else, Erica's parents decided to escalate things even further. They started threatening a countersuit, claiming the lawsuit had caused them emotional distress. It was an empty threat. My lawyer assured me there was no basis for it, but it was another example of how far they were willing to go to avoid admitting Erica was in the wrong. Despite all the drama, the online community was a source of strength. People offered advice, shared similar stories, and even suggested starting a fundraiser to help cover my legal fees. I appreciated the gesture, but I didn't want to make this a public spectacle or involve strangers financially. Finally, the day of the court hearing arrived. I woke up early, reviewed everything with my lawyer one last time, and headed to the courthouse. Walking into that building was nerve-wracking, but I knew I'd done everything I could to prepare. Erica, on the other hand, strolled in like it was just another day. Her smirk was still there, but I couldn't help but notice a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. The case was finally about to begin, and I was ready to see it through. Whatever happened next, I knew I'd done my part to hold Erica accountable. Update 3. The courtroom was smaller than I expected, but every seat felt heavy with tension. On one side, I sat with my lawyer, who had the case file spread out neatly on the desk. Across the room, Erica lounged in her chair, smirking as her lawyer shuffled through papers. My parents were right behind her, whispering occasionally, their faces a mix of annoyance and self-righteousness. The judge entered and the proceedings began. Erica's lawyer started with their opening argument, describing the entire incident as a harmless prank gone wrong. He emphasized Erica's age, calling her a young woman who made a mistake and didn't deserve to be financially ruined for it. According to them, I was the unreasonable one, dragging this into court instead of resolving it within the family. When it was our turn, my lawyer didn't waste any time. He laid out the timeline from how Erica took my keys without permission to the crash and the aftermath. He explained the financial strain the damages caused, the repair estimates, and the emotional toll of dealing with the fallout. The tone was calm but firm, painting a clear picture of the consequences of Erica's reckless actions. Then came the surveillance footage. The courtroom went silent as the video played. It showed Erica speeding into the lot, attempting to drift, and losing control before slamming into the lamppost. The impact was loud enough that people in the gallery winced. When the footage ended, Erica shifted in her seat, her smirk fading for the first time. Next was witness testimony. My younger sister, who had agreed to support me, took the stand. She spoke about Erica's history of reckless behavior, including other incidents where she had caused property damage and avoided responsibility. Her account was clear and consistent, showing a pattern of immaturity and entitlement. She also described her behavior after the crash, highlighting her complete lack of remorse. When Erica took the stand, things started to unravel. She tried to play it cool, claiming she didn't mean to cause any harm and thought the car wouldn't be damaged. But under cross-examination, she stumbled. My lawyer asked about her social media posts and Erica claimed they were jokes and had nothing to do with the incident. That's when my lawyer brought out screenshots of the posts showing Erica mocking the situation and even admitting to taking the car without permission. The room was tense as Erica stammered, trying to explain herself. Her contradictions and evasive answers made it clear she wasn't being honest. My parents were next. They tried to shift the blame onto me, saying I should have been more forgiving in calling the lawsuit an overreaction. But their arguments were emotional, lacking any real substance. They painted Erica as the victim, but it was obvious they were grasping at straws. The judge didn't hold back. After hearing the evidence and testimonies, he addressed Erica directly, pointing out her lack of accountability and dismissive attitude throughout the case. His tone was stern and Erica's confident demeanor crumbled under the weight of the judge's words. Both lawyers gave their closing statements. Erica's lawyer repeated that this was just a prank that had gone too far, while my lawyer emphasized the impact on my finances and the principle of holding Erica accountable. The arguments wrapped up and the judge announced a short recess before delivering the verdict. Those 20 minutes felt like an eternity. I sat in silence, staring at the courtroom door. My parents whispered furiously behind her and Erica herself avoided eye contact with everyone. When the judge returned, the verdict was clear. He ruled in my favor, ordering Erica to pay the full cost of the repairs, $12,000 plus additional damages for the emotional distress caused by her actions. The total amount was significant, but it felt justified given everything I had endured. Erica didn't take it well. She stood up abruptly, muttering under her breath and stormed out of the courtroom. The heavy wooden door slammed shut behind her, making everyone in the room flinch. My parents followed, glaring at me as they left. After the ruling, some family members who had attended quietly came over to offer their support. A few even admitted they were proud of me for standing my ground, though they kept their voices low, clearly wary of causing more drama. Others left without saying a word, their disapproval written all over their faces. I walked out of the courtroom feeling a mix of emotions. The relief of winning was there, but so was the weight of the family division this had caused. It wasn't lost on me how far this had gone, and I knew repairing those relationships would take time if it even happened at all. The next steps were clear. I needed to get the car repaired and start rebuilding financially. But for now, I had done what I set out to do. Erica had finally faced the consequences of her actions, and while the fallout was messy, it felt like a step toward accountability. As I drove away from the courthouse, I couldn't help but reflect on everything that had led to this moment. The road ahead wasn't going to be easy, but at least I was finally moving forward. Update 4. Winning the case didn't mean it was over. Erica was ordered to pay, but predictably she didn't follow through. Weeks passed with no sign of the payment. My lawyer explained the next step, garnishing her wages. It was a tedious process, requiring more paperwork and delays, but it was the only way to enforce the court's decision. In the meantime, I finally managed to get my car repaired. Seeing it restored felt like a small victory. It wasn't just about the money, it was about reclaiming something that Erica had taken away with her reckless actions. Picking up the car from the shop was a satisfying moment, though the financial dent was still noticeable even with the court ruling. Erica, on the other hand, started facing pressure from mutual friends. A few of them called her out publicly for her behavior, saying she needed to take responsibility. This eventually led to a post on her social media. It was a half-hearted apology where she said she was sorry if anyone got upset, that she didn't mean to cause drama. It was clear she wasn't actually sorry, she was just trying to appease the growing criticism. The family division deepened. Some relatives began boycotting family events hosted by my parents, claiming the lawsuit had ruined the family. Others tried to stay neutral, avoiding conversations about it altogether. The air at gatherings was tense, and my parents felt the strain. Still, they stood by me, even if it meant losing connections with certain family members. Surprisingly, an elder family member reached out during this time. They were someone who rarely got involved in family disputes but felt compelled to speak up. They shared some advice on navigating the drama and reminded me that standing up for what's right often comes with challenges. Their support was unexpected but appreciated. Eventually, Erica's wages were garnished and I began receiving the payments she owed. It wasn't a lump sum, but seeing the money come through felt like progress. Slowly I started to rebuild financially. The legal fees had left a dent in my savings, but I was determined to recover. As the fallout continued, Erica's reputation took a nosedive. Her behavior during and after the lawsuit alienated her from many friends and family members. Invitations to events became scarce and even some of her closer friends started distancing themselves. A few people outright cut ties with her, saying they couldn't support someone who refused to take responsibility for their actions. I heard through the grapevine that Erica's behavior had started affecting her job. Her immaturity and lack of accountability were reportedly causing issues with her co-workers. While I didn't take any satisfaction in that, it showed how her actions were catching up to her in every aspect of her life. At a family reunion a few months later, the tension was palpable. Erica showed up but avoided me entirely. She stayed on the opposite side of the room, barely speaking to anyone outside her immediate family. Her parents, however, made a point of glaring at me whenever they thought I wasn't looking. It was awkward, but I stood firm. I wasn't there to cause trouble. I was there for the rest of the family who supported me. After that event, I set some clear boundaries. I made it known that I wouldn't tolerate disrespect or enabling behavior from anyone. If they wanted to hold on to their grudges, that was their choice, but I wasn't going to let it affect me any longer. Online, the community that had supported me throughout the ordeal continued to offer encouragement. Many people emphasized the importance of self-care and moving forward positively. Their words helped me refocus on what mattered, rebuilding my life and relationships with the people who truly cared. Erica's parents meanwhile kept their grudge alive. They continued to blame me for the family division, but their arguments were starting to lose credibility. More and more relatives began seeing through their attempts to defend Erica, especially as her behavior remained unchanged. Despite everything, I found moments to reflect on what had happened and how far I'd come. The emotional toll of the lawsuit and the family drama was significant, but it taught me the value of standing up for myself. For years, I'd avoided conflict to keep the peace, but this experience showed me that sometimes peace is impossible without accountability. Erica's actions became a cautionary tale within the family. While I don't think she's fully learned her lesson, it's clear that the ripple effects of her choices are still being felt. Her social circle has shrunk and her once carefree attitude now seems more like avoidance than confidence. For me, the focus is on moving forward. I've started new projects, reconnected with supportive friends, and even looked into therapy to process everything that happened. This chapter of my life has been challenging, but it's also been a turning point. Standing up for myself wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Looking back, I wouldn't change a thing even with all the unintended consequences. The lesson was worth it and it's one I'll carry with me for a long time. Update 5. Months after the court case, the final payment from Erica came through, officially clearing the debt. The financial chapter of this ordeal was finally closed. It took a while to process how long it had all dragged on, but there was a sense of relief in knowing it was over. During this time, I noticed a subtle shift in the family dynamic. A few relatives who had distanced themselves started reaching out again. At first, it was small gestures, comments on social media posts, casual texts asking how I was doing. But eventually, a couple of them made it clear they wanted to reconnect. They admitted they'd felt pressured by my parents to take sides and regretted how things had played out. Erica, meanwhile, wasn't the same at family events. She didn't apologize outright, but her usual loud overconfident behavior was noticeably subdued. She kept to herself, avoiding confrontation and even engaging in polite conversation with other family members. It was a far cry from the person who had once laughed off the damage she caused. And while it didn't feel like full accountability, it was something. With the payments complete and some extra savings from work, I decided it was time for a fresh start. I upgraded my car, not just fixing it, but trading it in for a newer model that felt like a symbol of moving forward. Driving it felt like reclaiming my hard work and reminding myself of the lessons I'd learned. The family as a whole settled into a new normal. There were clear boundaries now, ones I had set and enforced. Relatives who used to excuse bad behavior started calling it out more, probably because of everything that happened with Erica. Her actions and the lawsuit became a cautionary tale, something people brought up when discussing accountability and fairness. The relationships that mattered most grew stronger. My uncle and auntie remained supportive throughout, and I made an effort to deepen my bond with relatives who had stood by me. Friends who had been in my corner all along became an even bigger part of my life, reminding me that it wasn't about the family I was born into, it was about the people who showed up when it counted. My parents, who had been the loudest voices against me, eventually softened their stance. They didn't apologize outright, but the hostility faded. At a family gathering, they made an effort to engage in polite conversation, though it was clear they weren't ready to acknowledge their role in everything. Still, the absence of tension was a small step forward. Online, I posted a final update sharing the resolution and thanking the community for their support. I talked about the lessons I learned, emphasizing the importance of standing your ground even when it feels like the odds are stacked against you. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of comments poured in with people sharing similar stories and praising the courage it took to see it through. Erica's actions and the fallout became a broader lesson for the family. People started taking responsibility more seriously, and the girls will be girls mentality that had shielded her for so long began to fade. Even Erica seemed to be reflecting on her behavior, though she never said it outright. On a personal level, I knew there was more work to do. The emotional toll of the lawsuit and family drama wasn't something I could ignore, so I started therapy. It was a way to process everything and focus on moving forward without holding on to bitterness. The sessions helped me find peace and reinforce the idea that standing up for myself wasn't about revenge, it was about justice and self-respect. Months later, out of the blue, Erica reached out to me privately. It wasn't a grand gesture, just a simple message acknowledging that she had been wrong. She didn't make excuses or try to justify her actions, which was a step in the right direction. While I wasn't ready to fully repair our relationship, I accepted her words for what they were, a sign that she might finally be growing up. The experience even gave me a chance to mentor a younger sister who was starting to show some of the same reckless tendencies as Erica. We had a conversation about responsibility and consequences, and I used the story as an example of why it's important to think about how your actions affect others. It felt good to turn something difficult into a lesson that might help someone else. As I drove my new car down the familiar streets of my neighborhood, I couldn't help but reflect on how far I'd come. The journey had been messy, painful, and at times, isolating, but it had also taught me more about myself than I ever expected. This chapter of my life is finally closed, and while it wasn't the path I would have chosen, I'm proud of the way I handled it. I stood up for myself, held someone accountable, and came out stronger on the other side. Now it's time to focus on what's ahead. The road is clear, and I'm ready for whatever comes next.